everybody, and welcome to the Friends and Music Podcast. Today, I'm sitting here with Karlton. Hey, Karlton.
What's up?
How are you doing today, dude?
I'm doing good.
I am really glad we get to do this. I think your name is the name that gets brought up the most throughout the podcast, and you're the reason why I started a podcast. So
Yeah,
here we are doing this thing.
I felt special. I felt more famous. I'm not famous. Like, just so we're clear, anyone was confused. I'm not famous, but listening to this podcast made me feel like, am I famous?
No, you're famous, dude. In my eyes, you're famous. So you were the dad of the band because you were the only dad in the band, but you were also like the mentor and role model to all of us. Like, you're a good example of how to be a good person, how to treat people with love and respect and be kind to everybody. There's people in our life that you could have gone a different direction with that would have completely deserved it, but I've never seen an angry side of you when you're justified to do so. You're a good man. You're a good person, dude.
Oh, I'm blushing.
So I want to start with that you're the start of the podcast, but we have to start with how we met. And so it sounds like we have different stories. I would say mine's a little bit more negative, and it sounds like yours is a little bit more positive of the first time we met. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Well, now I'm really curious because you didn't fully say. We said because we wanted to save it for this when we were talking. Yeah. I don't remember.
Well,
now I'm curious what yours is.
You weren't negative. You just had a bad day.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I picture
I was
like
having a bad day, but
Yeah.
then I had a good day at the end of the day.
Correct. And like I said, again, you had a bad day. You had a bad thing happen to you that day. You still showed no sign of being pissed off, angry. You didn't blame somebody else and sit there and go, why me? You just went like, today sucked. You shared the news with us, and then you're like, all right, let's start this band that we don't know each other, but let's get down to business.
Yep.
And then your side of the story is what?
So I was working at a jewelry store. I'm going to call them out, Jensen Jewelers.
Yeah,
Because it was probably partly my fault anyways. Let's be real. I don't remember exactly what happened, but something probably happened. I did something stupid.
Well, you just kept putting rings in your pocket before you'd go home. I guess I had an issue with that. I don't see what the problem is.
Me neither. Just a little side gig. I just the cheap
rings.
ones.
Yeah.
They were ones people were overlooking. Anyways, so because TJ, that's where kind of all this, because he was the instigator of kind of everything. Because we had talked about, so TJ and I had been working at Verizon for a while, and we connected over music very quickly because we have very similar tastes in that regard. And he'd always wanted to do music, and I'd like, oh yeah, I've been in bands, I have guitar, I have these things, and after I'd left, he met a couple of guys that were in one of the first people that started the band. And he's like, hey, I got a drummer. Hey, I got a bassist. Let's do this. I'm like, okay. And so then that night, after coming home, because when we were working, Jensen Jewelers and Verizon were right next to each other. So even though I was no longer working at Verizon, we still saw each other all the time. Anyways, get fired. Go to, I don't remember whose apartment it was. I assume it was TJ's apartment.
I think so.
But they're like, anyways, this is Blair. And so then Blair's first question he asked me is, it's okay, who's it between Taking Back Sunday or Brand New?
That's so.
And then my response was on music or looks. And you're like, ooh, good question. And I don't remember, like, it was just that initial conversation of, I don't remember what made you bring on that enemy in music. What is that called? Rivalry. That's the word I'm looking for. That's what started us talking. And you said, hey, you got fired from a job. That's a good way to write music. I remember that being in the conversation as well as a good place to start. But like I said, the whole evening I remembered. I just remember that. I remember having a bad day, and this guy just immediately just brings on these questions, and we just became friends from there.
Did we just become best friends?
Yep.
I mean, honestly, like, that's all it took for you and I, like, music.
Yeah.
And here we are over 10 years later, still talking about music.
Yep.
It's easy to fact check how long we've known each other because I just saw Tannen, and I met you before Tannen was born. So
yep,
that's easy. He's 10.
Yeah, because our first concert, Michelle was still pregnant. Mm-hmm. And I think the next concert, he was there.
Yeah. Those little headphones and buck teeth pacifier.
Yep. there's a gift that when we had them, player sent us. It was this little pacifier with these awesome buck teeth.
I still have that picture because it's adorable.
It is adorable.
What more about High C do you want to talk about?
I'm trying to remember what has been talked about, because it's kind of interesting that there was a lot of like, in kind of trying to start a band, we had so many issues with just like trying to get going.
Yeah.
Because like anyone does, couldn't find a place. We finally got a place. We got kicked out of it for being too loud, even though we were practicing in the middle of the day. That was the weirdest experience. I don't know if you remember that.
It wasn't too loud. It was just I didn't like the noise we were making.
Yeah. But it was the middle of the day. Like there was even no noise ordinance or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it took me the longest time to be willing to spend money on even just an amp, which I had forever. But because you kept having to put freaking towels in your drums to damp the noise so you could hear my guitar. Because I had this tiny little amp that doesn't even work anymore. But then after, because we had when it was just, there was 4 of us for a while. And I remember trying to have this make sense, because I'm having like random memories of like this happening and this happening. Like I remember we covered Jimmy Eat World for a while. I remember you got so sick of that song. Because it's probably boring for you to play, but it was a lot of fun for me to play. It was actually because of that song that Chase was like, our friend Chase. I don't know if are you going to interview Chase? Have you talked about Chase?
I would love to. Hopefully we get the chance to.
But that, because I could play the solo from In the Middle. Is that what, The Middle? Whatever that song's called.
Yeah, it was The Middle, yeah.
He's like, oh, you can play that solo? So I remember that was kind of cool for me. I was like, oh, I can play the guitar. Even though I've been playing for a while when we started playing. But
and Chase is a good validating factor. Like if Chase approved of something that I did, I always felt really good about myself. And like he's a through and through musician, like loves music. You know, that's all he talks about. He plays every instrument. And then like he had been in touring bands. Like he's played, bigger venues. He's met bigger bands. So like having somebody that has done that with that experience and then come to us and say like, oh, this song's really cool. Like, do more of this or explore this area more. Like, so yeah, I get it. If Chase gave you props, then that's a big one.
Yeah, because I didn't make the connection until later. So I played in a band in high school called Fate is the Hunter. I was a sophomore in high school, and we'd actually, I don't know if we talked about this much. I know we mentioned it at the time, but he was in a band called Madison Lights, and we had this weird beef. We were like not even the same thing. So Madison Lights, very pop punk band, and Fate is the Hunter, our singer was a big fan of like Seosin, The Used, Old Under Oath. So we were kind of in that vein. But I hate to say it, I don't know if he'll listen to it, but he was, at least at the time, I don't know if he's improved now. He was not a good singer. But something had happened where his buddy, we were at a show together, and the singer of Madison Lights had made fun of the guy, even though he was happening. It was a dumb beef. But again, it was a bunch of these like early 20-year-olds trying to outdo each other. Like I said, I was a sophomore in high school. I didn't care. I was just there to play guitar. I did not get involved in any way. But Chase was in the band at the time, but I didn't even make the connection until he came to our shows a couple times for IC. So
yeah, and then like there was no awkwardness between the two of you because you both got along so easy. And like that's your personality, and that's also Chase's personality. Like he's another person that he doesn't have issues with people. He just sees the good in them. And if you talk about music, I mean, that's how I met Chase, was because of his Blink-182 tattoo. And I was dating a girl at the time, and I got his phone number at the mall. Like he was impressed that I knew about Blink so much, and like, I fell in love with him instantly. And so I got his phone number, and my girlfriend's like, well, leave it to you to get some guy's phone number at the mall. But when you brought up Madison Lights, like, I don't know about you, but every time I listen to Fall Out Boy, the Take This to Your Grave album, and more specifically, Dead on Arrival, that like bass tone and stuff, I feel like that's where Madison Lights sound comes from, is that that album and that song. And so every time I hear that album, like I think of Madison Lights. Like it's a great album. Like that's my favorite album of Fall Out Boy. And so that they took that sound and made a band out of it. And like if it's intentional or not, like I have no idea. I'm not telling everybody that's where it came from. That's what I hear.
Yeah.
But great band. And then the other thing that you brought up that I think is a funny point is how you said that you had a small amp. And so like I was always trying to find ways to deaden my drum set, my sound. I was pretty big with that band of like, we practice how we play, right? Like let's not start habits of, playing quieter or doing things different. Like if we're going to practice, like let's practice how we're going to perform in front of people. And so maybe I gave you too much of a hard time, but I remember like telling you one day, like, Karlton, I've tried softer drumsticks. Like I remember once I went to the Ace in Rexburg and I bought surgical tubing,
Yep.
and I would cut pieces of that and wrap it around my drumsticks so my drumsticks like wouldn't hit so hard. So I was like, Karlton, like I can't do anything to make my drum set more quiet.
Yeah.
And I still want to hit hard. So like you got to do something. Like you need to fix this.
And I know that was still early enough where it's like, even though it wasn't even that big of a deal, I had that amp forever. Actually, I'm still mad at myself for selling it before we went to Texas. I wish I would have stored it at a family member's house because it was a decent little, that was a half stack Fender amp.
Yeah.
And I got it for like $140.
Nice.
I'm like, you don't find that kind of deal anywhere.
No.
But that was kind of the, because especially with practice, it's harder to make sure everyone can hear, especially, I mean, none of us had any money, so it's not like we could buy like some fancy mixer with a bunch of in-ear monitors or anything like that. So that would have been a totally different story.
For sure.
But especially for like most of the venues you play, you don't need a big old cab for most of it anyways. You're direct in-house, so. But.
And that's one of the fun things about what we did is, we've talked about it before here, like it's definitely a DIY band, but not only with like how we performed, finding places to play that weren't necessarily like concert venues, but also with ourselves. Like we found ways to make it work. Like, we had no money. I was making $10 an hour at the time. And so majority of my money went to gas and my rent that I had, and I was still a student. So it wasn't like I had money coming in, but any dollar that I could spend on buying drumsticks or new drum heads, that's where it went. And so for us to be able to make do with what we had, for sure, like made us creative.
Oh yeah.
And I mean,
and kind of interesting.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, and it's kind of interesting as I'm able to kind of like make music now, but kind of seeing kind of the difference of how I kind of work. There is so much foundational, because we were talking about one of like the core memories for me for High C is actually just us. You would bring your drums because you had to pack your freaking drums anywhere, which I always felt bad, but we could never just find a stable place for the longest time. Your little Ford Bronco, but you'd always come over to just our little trailer that we lived in, and we would just jam, but we would just have your phone and we would kind of listen back and like, oh, we like that. Let's kind of, and that's actually how I still, that has influenced how I write so much to this day still. Like I write better with a drummer than I do with any other musician for that reason. I think I just have I can't count worth crap, but so I rely on a drummer to count for me. But I think because of that, like I had written music beforehand, but it was always like someone had music and then I would kind of bring in, I'm going to write this guitar part on top of it. But like to have a song from the ground up, writing with you in the trailer or wherever we were to play was foundational how I still write to this day. Like I can't, like people like get on a piano or like I have to have like even a drum beat. Like I'll just find something in my recording software and play to the drum beat because it's just, that was so foundational how I write.
Yeah. And for me, man, that was so much fun because we would just spend hours and hours and hours of just either doing like trying to figure out one song or come up with different songs. And then half the time to be like, oh, we just played something cool. What was that again? I don't know.
Yeah.
So we started recording it if we could. But yeah, I mean, I had a blast. Just you and I, and because the other guys were at work, or like we would kind of get the start of a song and then bring it to them and finish it up. But with what you were saying about like starting a song, it made me think that you're definitely one of the like my favorite musicians that I've ever played with, because you understand me, and I feel like a lot of people don't, because if you have a professional musician, they just come in and expect you to keep perfect time and know how to do fills right. Like I'm a self-taught drummer. I don't know what half the things mean. I still don't. But for you and I, like we would speed up at the same time. We would slow down at the same time. Like you could look at me and like we just knew like it was perfect, man. Like what a yin and yang experience we had of playing music together. And so I don't know for the other guys if they had a hard time keeping up with us, but you were the foundation. So whatever you were doing, they tried to keep up with, and it worked out. It worked out because of you doing that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. That has happened a lot now. Again, I think in listening to the podcast and kind of like talking about like where people's like nerdiness lies, like there's people like, you talk about Rob, he knows the history of music. He like knows where like this band is influenced by this band. I'm like, I don't know any of that. Yeah. But because of having a little bit different background for myself, for example. So I grew up in a very musical household, but it was musical theater. So both my parents did musical theater and where we could growing up. And so I've always just liked how music worked. And so being able to like being in a choir setting or I've been in such a variety of settings that knowing how to read people in a room has always been more enjoyable anyways. But it's kind of interesting how that, because I was in such a variety of different roles, that still, anytime I do music, I feel egotistical bringing it up, but I end up being that foundation for a reason. I can write fast, but I just know how to read other people and play off of them well. And that really accelerated playing with you, especially.
Yeah. And like, I mean, I can attest to what you're saying, because if you were a perfectionist and, you know, you only expected me to do what a drummer should be doing, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
So because you had that, it worked. What were you going to say?
Yeah, and even just playing off of that is actually also influenced in playing with other people in regards of I will listen to something and I have something in my brain. I'm like, oh, this kind of thing would work. But because I'm not a drummer, if I allow a drummer to do their thing, the song ends up being better because I'm not a drummer. And so like I can have a foundation of what it could sound like, but once a drummer comes in and plays on it, example yourself, this song instantly just became a better song for that reason. So,
yeah, I remember in the trailer, I hear it right now. It's funny because I haven't thought about it for a long time, but the surf rock song that we tried to write, which is where majority of High C songs came from, was that one song that we were trying to write that we still have never finished.
I still have a recording of it. I actually, funny, quick side note, I wrote lyrics to that once and I still can't find them.
If you find them, let me know, because it's so funny.
It was because it was about, there's this politician, I say politician, he's a guy that like, he's a third party, I cannot remember his name, but he wears a boot hat and like has the most ridiculous stance of any, like he's essentially a professional troll, but I think there's I think he's not all there. Like he was in a debate and there was this whole thing, he made this joke about if you throw glitter on someone, it'll turn them gay. In the middle of the debate, he threw glitter on his opponent in the debate. It's the greatest thing, and I wish I remember the lyrics because I can't find them. But
well, I do remember you talking about that at a band practice once, so that's funny that's
okay. It was that long ago when I wrote it. I couldn't remember if it was still then or if it was afterwards I'd written it. But
yeah, and the other important thing that we have to talk about, because it's with you here and it's been talked about several times, is yes, you were the dad of the band. Like you were the glue. Like honestly, if you weren't who you were and in the band, like it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have sounded the same. And we wouldn't have progressed to where we got to because of you and then your family. If we didn't have your in-laws, Mike and Penny, and if we didn't have Michelle backing us up, like it would have gone nowhere, because we finally found a place that we could practice. We could come whenever. I mean, maybe some of us lived because they fed us so much. Like they took care of us. Like they became our parents. Like they loved us all. And then like we had such a good family time. Like, you know, we were away from our family. And so you had, you know, Han in there, but then you had your other kids that were there that would come around and play with us. Like it just made us feel happy and loved. And so without a place to practice and good people in our lives, like the band wouldn't have got to where it was. And it's funny because I'm like, the band wouldn't have got to where it was. Like we're this big band. No, we mostly played Idaho. We played Utah a couple times, but still for us, it was huge.
Yeah, especially for Idaho. Like, I mean, going back to Chase, like he was in 2 bands that like successfully toured outside of Idaho. Yeah. Beyond that, most bands from the area don't do that.
Yeah.
Like even going to Utah is a big thing.
Yeah. It was big for us and it was a lot of fun. Like I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, this is very reminiscing. I don't know if it's going to be, if this is what you wanted to talk about, but
no one listens to this anyways. It doesn't matter, dude. It's fine. But the other, like, so when we went to Utah, we went and played at the Y Sound Studio, which this band gets brought up a lot because of how big they are, but we played with the home team.
Yeah.
Like, how was that for you? Did you like that show? Like meeting them and playing with them?
That was so much fun. And it was interesting to kind of just, it was this kind of, you could see like it was almost like if we decided to like, you know, we're going to be a band for real. Like that was the next step, because they were still fairly like, they were unsigned at that point, if I'm not mistaken. They're kind of just, they still all had their day jobs. They were making it work how they could. And so it was kind of interesting to kind of just see. There was definitely a difference in caliber as far as experience. Like you could see they had it. Like Brian, their singer, had the most wild energy, but could still sound incredible.
Yeah.
And then the tightness, and they just had their tone dialed in really well. And it was a very cool experience as people who are essentially just hobbyists. That's all, like, we just enjoyed it. But it was like, oh, if we took it seriously, we now have this cool connection if we wanted. And so that was kind of a cool experience at the time. It was a ton of fun. It's been one of the most fun shows. Like, even though like I've played more shows than I've been to, because I'm not a big concert goer, that's still been one of my favorite shows I've been to because of that energy. That, like, I don't know if you remember, he didn't set up that tiny little stage that they had. Yeah, he sang in the crowd because he's like, I want to be with the crowd.
Yeah, he got more room that way.
Oh yeah,
I remember being very compact where the drum set was because they still had like a little riser and like I had no room.
Yeah. That was always an issue, though, because no one ever had enough space for a freaking drum set. You were always compact. Even at Skizzy's or whatever, where that was the biggest place we played at. Maybe the skate park was probably a little bigger. But you always were in the crappiest situations. Like, the amount of times that people just did not know how to, like, properly work in a drum set in a live setting was wild. That, like, that was just a constant problem.
And I don't even play a big set. Like, mine was very condensed. One thought that just came to mind that I remember was we had the issue that most drummers have of the bass drum starting to crawl and move away. And I remember on the drum riser at one of the shows, we found a cinder block. So we put a cinder block behind the bass drum. And apparently I was still hitting it hard enough where the cinder block was moving. And we didn't realize it. So I remember at one point it fell and you and TJ jumped.
I forgot about that. Where was that at?
I think that was at the Skizzy's.
Was that whatever that place?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I forgot. That's wild. Memory unlocked. I forgot about that. It scared the crap out of us.
Yeah. Because I think it was like mid song too. So it wasn't even like during the song. Like, we probably wouldn't have heard it if it was.
Yeah. That's funny.
Fun times.
Oh yeah.
Great shows. And it's funny that you brought up that you've played more shows than that you've been to, like concerts outside of the ones you've been in.
I was actually trying to think about this because you had the list of questions, and like I probably can tell you all the concerts I've been to because that's how few I've been to. Like, as far as like concerts, like I've been to a bunch of like local stuff just because for as bad as an unfunded the music scene was in Idaho, just because there's nothing, because they worry about sports. There was enough people that cared that, like, I've been to plenty of concerts, but they're choir concerts or band concerts, things like that.
Yeah.
But my very first concert was actually Warped Tour.
Nice.
07 Warped Tour. And that's actually funny, my brag, because you were talking about this, like your ideal tour were to be Paramore Riot. I don't know if you remember what came out in 2007. I saw Paramore in their orange pants at Warped Tour. I mean, they only played like whatever 5 or 6 songs because their sets are shorter at Warped Tour.
Yeah. But still, you saw it.
I discovered the starting line at Warped Tour.
Nice.
I knew the name, but I didn't listen to them until then. I saw All Time Low when they only had their EP, The Party Scene or whatever, Put Up or Shut Up, whatever that EP.
Yeah.
We saw their acoustic set and then their one set.
How cool.
So 07 was a really good year because, like I said, Red Jumpsuit Apparatus was there, The Almost was there. And like I said, a lot of those bands at the time only had like what made them famous at that time. Like, they didn't have this long discography until later. Cute Was What We Aimed For. I remember seeing them. Did you ever listen to Rocket Summer?
That's not a band I would seek out, but I have heard a few of their songs. And I think I've seen them once.
It's funny because of that, I've seen them and All Time Low are probably the bands I've seen the most. Okay. Because like I said, I saw them at Warped, and then they end up playing. All Time Low played AP Tour. I don't know if you remember AP Magazine.
I went to that. So that's when I saw the Rocket Summer.
Yep. So that's what, and then a buddy of mine, from my hometown, when I got home so this would have been before we played. He was a big fan of the Rocket Summer, so we actually went and saw them in Salt Lake. So that's another concert I went to. So aside from, I went to Warped Tour in 07 and 2010, and went to the AP Tour twice, And then I went and saw Mayday Parade once with the Maine, saw the Rocket Summer, and Coheed and Cambria. The end. That's the list of my concerts.
All right, we'll stop.
Oh, and Lindsey Sterling. I did see Lindsey Sterling with my wife.
Oh, that's cool. That's a fun one.
And that's my ideal concert because I got to sit down.
You old man. You are the dad of the group.
And that was even 7 years ago when I went to that.
And it's funny too, like that I say you're the dad of the group because I got a year or two on you.
Yeah. I see. Yeah,
and you also
like
have the big beard. You've always had the good looking beard.
Yep. I think I texted you about you're in Christian's episode. I was listening to that episode. So I do DoorDash. I had to pull off on the side of the road from him saying, "Are they in an Amish cover band?"
I did take a screenshot.
I was laughing so hard. So funny.
He said that, and I just was thinking.
Yeah, I need it.
When I was talking about your beard.
Yeah. Because it's funny, I didn't realize I was his first impression of High C. For some reason, I didn't realize it was until later that Mike made more of a connection with them afterwards. I thought he was friends with them beforehand. So I was his first impression, me and my freaking beard, and I had the hair at the time, so it was probably scraggly looking, and then my Verizon shirt. And I'm so awkward when I first meet people. Like, I'm the worst at first impressions. So it's so funny, like, you're so nice to everyone, but I am terrible at first impressions. So it's so funny. Him describing his first impression, I'm like, that's spot on. Like, if someone wants to know what it's like to meet me for the first time, listen to him talking about it.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to do first impressions of Karlton. We're going to call the people that we know that know you, and we'll have them call in and give their experiences.
You probably had a decent first impression because I was like in a weird mood. So there's like some emotion pushed out. So I'd be pushed out my comfort zone. And TJ was there, so that helped. But
I was just like, man, like that sucks for this guy. He had a bad day. Like, how are we gonna do band practice? Is this still gonna happen? You know, like, what are we gonna do? You made it work though. You flipped that switch and went into band mode.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about your look though right now. There's a lot of pictures of you. Yeah, there's a lot of pictures of you from shows we've played wearing a Kermit the Frog hat, and you dug that out and you're wearing it right now.
It doesn't fit. It actually hurts my head a little bit because it shrunk a little bit, but that's okay.
Like, good thing you have it on. And then you're wearing a Powerline shirt.
I sure am.
Let's talk about Powerline. What's your favorite Powerline song?
Eye to Eye.
Okay. What's their other songs that they have?
I think there was only the two. There's Eye to Eye and Stand Out Above the Crowd, even if I gotta. Nope, that's Eye to Eye. Hold on.
Yeah. It's all right. I'm just being stupid. It's just.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Powerline is the band from the movie Goof Troop, or Goofy Movie.
The Goofy Movie.
Such a
and
great
it's funny,
one.
the reason Eye to Eye I listen to as often as I do is actually, do you know the band Magnolia Parks?
Oh, they covered that one.
Park. They covered it, and it's this dope cover. But
I didn't think we were going to talk about your look today, but here we are. Yeah. Give us some fashion tips, Karlton.
No, I'm the worst. Do you remember what I would dress like for our freaking concerts? So I always made sure to wear a band t-shirt of some sort.
Uh-huh.
But I always wore those. I had these really like, I had to have them for a job one time. These like short jeans. They were jean shorts, but they weren't like fitted or any, like they were like dadcore shorts for sure. Besides, like the only thing that would have been more dad of me is to wear like cargo shorts. And then I had these Crocs that I'd wear. I don't know if you remember that.
I think you had a Power Ranger hat too, right? Not just the Kermit the Frog hat.
Yep.
So you had to mix it up.
Those were the two hats I'd wear though. But both of them have shrunk. I used to have a Batman hat too, but that one shrunk even more, and I gave that to one of my nephews. And I had a SpongeBob hat, also shrunk, so I gave it to another nephew.
So you were just telling us about the musical that you guys have, which you'll have to let us know how that's progressing and what comes from that. But I also remember that you and your wife have worked on another project. Like you guys had a YouTube channel and some songs together, right?
Yep. So there's a few things. So that's actually where the music will end up kind of being. We had kind of attempted an artist project. It's all just covers. Ellie and Carl. We kind of were trying to figure out a name, and that was just kind of little nicknames. It sounds like some like indie pop folk thing, to be honest, but none of it was. It's all. So we did. We're actually planning on doing something this Halloween. For a while, for almost 3 years, we did something every Halloween and every Christmas. That was the extent of what we did. We did like a Jack Johnson cover. We did a couple of religious things as well, but that was our foray. We've never been able to perform anything. It was all just us playing with video. And I've dipped my toe into video production, but it gives me a headache. I'd rather do music production than video production. Videos so much, just because of there's so many little things that you can fix post production and music wise, where it's like, oh, I can re-record on the fly. With video, crap, I've got to go back out and film the thing that I need to fix. Where like in the studio, it's like where you're like recording, and then the actual post production are kind of all in the same. It's almost a cyclical process for me. It's like, oh, I record something and I go and write it. And video, you can't do that. But it's fun and it's just time consuming, and with kids and jobs and stuff, it's a little more tricky. So that's it. We just couldn't do it as much, but we're actually hoping this fall it'll actually be original music this time. So we'll see if that actually comes to be. I totally forgot about that. But she started writing something like, oh, we really like this. But again, in our ADHD fashion, we have this musical we're working on. And I have an idea for an Alice in Wonderland retelling. And so she wrote this thing. I'm like, do we want to work on that instead? That happens all the time. Shiny object syndrome is really bad with me, where I start working on something else.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that you forgot about it. It's Ellie and Carl, right? That's what it's called. I subscribe to it on YouTube, so sometimes when I turn my TV on, it'll suggest one of your guys' videos. Like I'll turn the TV on, and there's freaking Karlton on my TV, ruining my TV, dude. Jeez, I don't want to see your face. Michelle, I'm fine with. Your wife's beautiful. No, you, on the other hand,
I agree with you. So
just kidding.
It actually reminds me. I was in we brought up the name Tommy. So he's one of my good friends from high school. We played. Mm-hmm. We never played in a band together, but we were always in like competing bands. I don't know. That's a stupid thing that we dealt with. But I played a few shows with them as well. I played bass for them for a little while. But when he moved back, because he actually started at BYU Idaho after I'd left, that's when he connected with us. And we started this project called The Last Potato. And that's on YouTube as well. I forgot about those. So there's a couple of original songs. I don't gotta find it, because again, when there's no subscribers, when you look up Last Potato, it's not very Google search. It brings up potato recipes and things like that instead.
What a great Idaho band name! Like that's perfect.
Oh yeah.
And so
but it was essentially like us talking about our dad experiences. There is what all the music is about.
Nice.
Like one of them, the song that I like the most is called Surprise, and it's about having to compromise with your wife about watching rom-coms. That's what that song's about.
That's a good one.
I forgot about those. Yeah, so I do have some recorded stuff, but it's things like that. And then we also, there's a couple of like really dumb sketches. Some of them were actually quite funny because I didn't write them. If I didn't write them, they were actually funny, because I don't think I'm very funny, and I don't have a knack for writing comedy. We have a couple of comedy sketches. We actually did do a musical as well, which is like 30 minutes long. It's literally like, it's called A Very Generic Love Story, and it was us kind of like making fun of musicals and BYU Idaho and things like that. So that exists too. But again, because they're so buried, I have to like go into my subscription, because I made sure I subscribed them on my YouTube, my personal YouTube, so I can actually find them, because I can never like search them up. So I remember the names, but I can never remember details and find it later.
Yeah, it's funny that you have like to yourself have to subscribe to your project so you can find it. Makes sense.
Those are the only like publicly facing finished products that I've ever done.
Okay.
Is those two particular.
And then I feel sad because I wanted you on right from the beginning, but I'm glad that we're finally doing this. But you've also been part of another podcast, correct?
Oh, he did. Yeah. It's a buddy of mine. It was his senior thesis. Whatever BYU Idaho does, it's not a thesis. That's if you're getting a PhD. He's some comm major. So it's called Rom-Com Dudes. We watched rom-coms and talked about them. That was the podcast, but I did the post-production side of it for him.
Seeing a pattern with rom-coms, is that your favorite type of movie?
No.
What is then? Animated?
Oh yeah, I would say an animated music. So I'm a big Disney. I grew up in '90s Disney, and then odd combination is anything Tim Burton. So Nightmare Before Christmas, which is still animated, but
and good old Danny Elfman.
Yep, I love Danny Elfman. Probably one of my favorite composers.
So, what are some of your favorite movies then?
My favorite movie of all time is The Princess Bride.
As you wish. Okay.
Yeah. But if I think on like, I have a hard time with like favorites. because it changes from day to day, like what I'm listening to. Like one of my favorite projects that I've ever listened to it's a musical. It's a concept musical strictly on Spotify and YouTube called Epic. It's
Okay.
a musical about the Odyssey.
Nice.
This thing. It's 2 hours long. I love it, and that's all I listened to last year.
That's cool.
But now I've been listening to. I think I brought up K-pop Demon Hunters, which is everywhere in the media. But my kids love it, and I have a 7-year-old, and she loves musicals. She's been listening to Greatest Showman, and she's gonna outdo Michelle and I. Like I said, we haven't had a chance to like sit down and do piano lessons with her, but she's already picking out things with her ear on the piano, just by herself.
That's cool.
So
good for her.
Yeah, she will outdo us. So K-pop Demon Hunter has been on repeat because and then our youngest really likes it. We also watch a lot of Studio Ghibli animated movies. Howl's Moving Castle, Spirit Away. He's a Japanese animator.
The Demon Hunter, if we had this episode last week, I wouldn't know who you're talking about, but I did go to a friend's house and it was time for his kids to kind of start winding down. So we turned on TV and that's what they turned on. So I did see like 5 minutes of that this week. So I do know what you're talking about, actually.
Look at you.
Yeah. The perfect timing.
That one. Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm a sucker for animated and music. So that was a perfect cross section for me. And apparently I'm just basic because it's the most popular thing. And I love it.
Yeah, basic. And then
I'm very basic.
You brought up the kiddos.
Yep.
We talked about Tannen a little bit already with the pacifier that I got him, but tell me about the other kiddos and how old they are now.
So Tannen, like I said, he'll be 10 September 3rd. It's his birthday, so it's soon. Bria, our 7-year-old, and then Callum is our youngest, and he just turned 4 5 days ago.
Happy birthday, Callum, 5 days ago.
Yep.
And what instruments would all these kiddos play? Are they going to play? It sounds like Bria's going to be the pianist.
Pianist or singer? Okay. She's got front person energy. I'd be okay with her idolizing Hayley Williams and pulling off that kind of thing. She's got it. I could see Callum, our youngest, actually being the drummer.
Nice.
Just because he's our most violent. He's not very violent, but he's the one he's pushed buttons as far as like hitting and doing things like that. I don't know if that's the right combination for a drummer, but and funny enough, like I think Tannen, because he's very similar to me, where he likes how things are made. So he probably could like pick up something if he learned it, but he would be the either videographer for the music videos or the producer. That would be how I'd see those three in their different respective roles. But I think Tannen, because once he kind of gets into something, he could figure it out. I don't think he's quite as like naturally gifted like his sister is, but he has the same, like, once he hyper focuses on something, he'd figure it out.
That's awesome, dude.
That would be their respective instruments.
And then we have the other kiddos of Luke, Isaac, and Hannah, which were the kiddos that were running around when we'd have band practice.
We helped raise them for a little bit, so that's. And they're actually Hannah. She did I always forget what it's called. Did you guys have Junior Miss where you're at? Was that a thing?
I think it's for Karlton, so no, I never did that. Did you?
No, your high school.
No,
I would have killed it if I did Junior Miss. Just so we're aware. I don't remember what it's called. They changed the name of it because it's a scholarship program. But she did that, and she sang. So she sings and plays guitar. Cool. I taught a couple of guitar lessons to her and Luke for a while. But she's quite good at guitar and piano. And I've only heard her sing one time, but she was nervous. But for being nervous, she did really good.
Good for her.
And Luke listens to a lot of rap because apparently that's the cool thing for his age. Right. So I don't relate to anything on him. I don't listen
Did
to
Isaac ever do anything with music?
No.
Okay.
He's boring.
It was so much fun though. Like back in the day, like they would run around, we'd play with them. And then I remember once at your house, this 4th of July, we had that inflatable water slide.
Yep.
Just spending all day going up and down, getting chased by them on that. That was a blast, dude.
Yeah.
It was like your family barbecue mixed with band barbecue.
Yep.
Good times.
Yeah, that's Mike and Penny have always kind of been that, and it was very nice because I also grew up in a household where it's like whoever comes is family. I've always fortunately been surrounded with that, so it's always been normal for me, and so I'm glad I was able to kind of expand that to friends, and you guys always felt welcome for whatever capacity I could offer that. I've always, like I said, that's what I grew up with, and that's what Michelle grew up with, and then it's still that way. There's always stragglers in every family thing. They're just family.
Yeah, definitely.
Michelle's got a massive family, so I don't know if you remember the size of that.
I mean, I come from a big family too, and like the same thing like you're saying of whoever's there is family, and so like I appreciate people that are like that because I've moved around a ton, so it's nice to find people that are just welcoming like that. And then I'm going to be a little abrupt with you because I want to make sure we get to it. I need your definition of punk and your definition of emo.
Do you want a musical answer or a cultural answer? Because I think there's answers for each of those.
You win. There's confetti streaming down. We have a winner. You were the first person to ask that.
Really? Oh.
I have never asked specifically, and I've let people answer how they want to. Okay. And so, because it's friends in music, I think people always go towards music, but I want both or one. It's up to you. But I'm just glad that you pointed it out. So thank you for pointing that out. That makes me really happy.
Because to me, with growing up, again, being very involved in each culture to somehow, as far as you can be in either of those cultures in Idaho of all places, because neither of those cultures truly existed to what you would kind of see in like popular media. But as far as like, if you're going to get technical with music, emo, I mean, the basis of it came from the hardcore scene. So it's emotional hardcore. It was kind of this idea where hardcore and punk kind of like were similar and kind of this is like against the authority. And emotional hardcore was kind of this, oh, we can talk about our feelings. Essentially, like that's where emotional hardcore kind of came. So as far as emo is more of a lyrical thing than an actual musical thing. So then we see kind of this emo scene where it became cultural. So you have bands like Paramore, Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, where like anything that was like slightly whiny or introspective became emo. Like even people like refer to like 3 Days Grace, who is like very popular rock music because he has a song called Pain and talks about like, so I've always kind of seen that, but I feel that's more cultural than musical for that reason, because we just named this otherness of like the weird kids who talked about their feelings. It was very, especially with being a theater kid, I experienced that culturally for that reason, because it's all kind of very tied together of the same group of people. Yeah. So you have the emo, emotional hardcore, which for me is more of a lyrical thing than an actual musical thing of why it exists. And then you have, like I said, the cultural thing with the swooped hair, the scene kids, and what it kind of brought on later. And then punk, music-wise, it was just fast music. It was all about like really fast songs, easy chords against the government. And then punk culturally is just what's against the system. I kind of example, I think Christian brought this up a little bit, but I just saw the new Superman movie. Big nerd, and I was able to go see that. And one of the things that kind of came from that, there's this joke about, because he's this kid from Kansas, he doesn't actually know what punk music was. What he knew was pop music. And so this whole idea, because of the cultural climate that was portraying, is to be kind because it's against the system, is the punk thing to do. So punk has this attitude of like, and there's a kind of a, Christian brought this up, like there's a thing of like, I just want to go against the system. I don't know what the system is, but I just don't like it. Yeah. And so that's kind of the cultural side of punk for me. Okay. So.
And now I just want to make sure, because it seems like you're giving like technical definitions, right? Like that you could look up. Are these, do they go hand in hand with your personal definition?
My personal definition?
Yeah. Like, because you gave great answers, great background. But in all honesty, that sounds like something, if I'm to go on the internet, type in what is punk or what is emo, like those are things that are going to get brought up, right? So is your definition one and the same? And that's fine if it is.
It would probably be a combo of both, just because of growing up with both in mind. Is emo is this vulnerability of willing to kind of touch subjects that are maybe taboo, depending on who you talk to. There's an outsiderness to emo. So that's kind of how I look at it. And then punk, again, it's still one and the same, because punk was this against the system music. Yeah. But it's still the same for me as like being opposed to. So therefore, even doing something musically where it's like if I were to suddenly bring in a different type of genre to what I'm doing now, like playing in kind of this thing like, oh, we're going to bring in synth. That's punk in itself of like, it's very opposing. So that would be, yes, it's very tied to what is the answer I gave before, but there's a tie of both the cultural and the music for me for both those definitions.
Perfect.
I tangented a little bit. Hopefully I answered your question.
No, you did great, man. I just wanted to make sure that we had, I mean, this is your time to talk, so I want to make sure we had Karlton's answer.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know. And you brought up a really good point, and I want to know if you can help me understand it a little bit better. You talked about 3 Days Grace. You know, some people call it emo, that's just funny to me, but I get it because of the song Pain. So can you have an emo song and not be an emo band?
Yeah.
Is that acceptable?
100%. For me, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what about like that with other genres though? Like, can you be a mainstream pop band and have a punk song?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like an example I'll think of is Olivia Rodrigo.
Okay.
She kind of came out with her debut album, and she has a song on there called Brutal. And for being a pop artist, it's a chromatic scale that bum 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 bum. Like you don't hear that in pop music. And so I think a lot of it is contextual. What punk or what emo is. And so because of I don't think genre is always helpful in a lot of conversations. So I'm always willing to say like, yeah, if you're not an emo band, you can have an emo song. Or if you're not a punk band, you can have a punk song for that reason.
Well, I need to look up that Brutal song because I've never heard it. But it sounds like that would be a cool song to take and do one of those Pop Goes Punk covers too.
Oh yeah. Be easy to do.
Which is something I wish we would have like done more. Like we did that with a few songs, right? But
yeah,
I think for where we were at and like the crowd of people that we had to play with, especially at the beginning, was cover songs, and it was really fun for us to pick cover songs that we all liked. One, together as a band, like because that was hard, right? But then two, that like other people, like it was fun for us to be like, okay, like we like Fat Lip from Sum 41, like it's a fun song, it gets the crowd involved. But I think it was like a good thing to do for us to be like, okay, like this is what our band likes. And then people would be like, oh, I like that song too. Like, I'm going to listen to these guys now. Whereas I think if we would have started out with just some of our songs sometimes at shows, like I think people would have walked away. Like, that's fine. Like, I'm not saying that they need to stay there, but it's cool what those can do, right? Like cover songs or helping out. But it would have been fun to do. I remember we talked about the Walk the Moon song, Shut Up and Dance. I remember you and I talked about like turning that into, and it's like, I wish we would have done more of that, or like maybe we can find a way to still do that. But you brought up when we covered Jimmy Eat World earlier, and I do remember what you were talking about me, losing it on you guys. I've done that twice now with bands. Once with you guys with that song, and then once with one of our original songs. But it's just the repetition, and that's what it was we covered that song and we played that like it was our warm-up song at band practice, right? Like it was like, okay, everybody's in, we're all plugged in. Like we just played that to kind of get everybody warmed up, going. Like first of all, getting warmed up didn't also necessarily just mean getting loose. Like it meant getting warmed up. I remember turning on heaters out there in Idaho, like to actually get warmed up, man.
Yep.
But yeah, we played that song once, and I think you were like, dude, like let's play the middle again, and I just was like, no. We played that song so many times. We're done with it. Never again. And I'm sorry that was so grumpy, but I don't think we actually ever played it like ever again.
That's fine. It's funny. The reason I could play that, I think one of the reasons we could do that song is I've known that song for a long time because I learned that song for a girl in high school.
And is her name not Michelle?
No.
Oh, good thing Michelle's not here right now.
She knows the story, so.
That's so funny.
Yep.
Well, I'm excited because this coming week, which will be, I guess, a week or two before your episode comes out, but I'm seeing The Offspring for the first time.
Heck yeah.
With Jimmy Eat World for the first time, and then Newfound Glory for like the 8th time, but still 2 new bands this week, man. So I'm really excited. And it's fun that one, the middle because of that. And then 2, when we were talking about writing songs in the trailer, the surf rock song that we had that we could never finish, but all our other songs came from. I remember once though, we wrote this song, you and I, and we played it like 3 times in a row, and we were so proud of it. And I was like, wait a second. And I pulled up The Offspring, and I was like, we just wrote an Offspring song, Karlton. Yep. I don't remember which one it was, but it was like pretty much spot on.
Oh yeah, because we kept the intro for, I think the song was called The Struggle. The intro still sounds very like, it sounds like You just said the name of the Offspring song.
Yeah.
We kept the intro because we liked it because it was different enough. But then the song changed, obviously. But yeah, you're right. I forgot we did that. We just wrote it again.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it wasn't even like some like obscure thing. It's not like, oh, we had never heard this before. We both listened to Offspring growing up, and
yeah, and it's like it's a band that I've always known about, but like I've still to this day never like. I don't think I've ever listened to an Offspring album from start to finish.
Oh, me neither. It's always just been whatever the singles were.
Yeah, I've never dove into them. Like I like them. Like I respect what they've done for music. Like it's funny because there's some things that they've said that like, I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. Or I mean, I've met one of their drummers from back in the day. Like he's not with them now. He's in Alkaline Trio, but like it's like that's cool, right? But looking forward to seeing him. It's funny that we wrote one of their songs. We made it our own, but it was too close to continue with.
Oh yeah, that was really funny. So we were so like, this song's sick.
I think we were probably the most stoked on that, but that's why is because it was already on the radio.
Oh yeah,
it was
a good song.
Wrote 10 years before we tried to write it. But it's funny, like how, I mean, coming up with a band name is hard. I've talked about that on here before. I went through a phase of listening to stand-up comedy, which I think would be fun to do, but I feel like I'd be so insecure about like what I'm going to say because everything's been said before, right?
Oh yeah.
And like I have a song that I've been working on and the vocals are like I have all these thoughts running through my head, but what could I say that hasn't been said? Like that's how it is with music, and I feel like there's so many critical people out there like, oh, you're just ripping that off. Oh, you're just taking that, right? Which deep down, maybe I am, but I'm not intentionally trying to write an Offspring song. Like that was not our intention that day.
Yeah.
But it's
I think
because
a really
you're so
good
influenced by it.
Yeah, I think a really good book that kind of helped me get over this is it's called Still Like an Artist by Austin Kleon.
Okay.
And it's this idea that because everything's already been said, everything, especially music, within Western music, it's 12 tone. Like you look at a piano, there's only 12 notes in entire scale. Like it's pretty like simple as far as that goes. But it's the idea of like your experience, while you may write an Offspring style song, it's still going to be different from the Offspring because you're not the Offspring.
Yeah.
So it's the idea of what is your infusion, and then like with my example, it's the idea of like, okay, here's my musical theater interest, here's my thing. How can I infuse this? So yes, it's going to be a Blink-182 style song, but because I listen to musical theater, I'm going to approach the lyrics a little differently. I'm going to approach things a little differently. Or even as you said with comedy, you see comedy recycled all the time, but you're going to see it recontextualized because this person has a different cultural experience because they were Black and they experienced this, or they're from a different country, like they're from Europe and they experienced that same experience differently. So there's a different lens you are now approaching that subject matter. So like with lyrics, like unwrite it because it's going to be different because your experience is different than the other lyric writer. And having that kind of mindset really helped me kind of get over like, oh, just write it anyways. And if it's not good, then it's not good. And you either redo it or you move on to the next song.
Well, that's a good point. I appreciate you bringing that up, and I'll have to check that out for myself because that is an insecurity with art that I have.
I'll have to see if I can. I have the book somewhere. I have it on audiobook as well. I'll have to see if I can.
Yeah, I need to get it for myself, it sounds like. Yeah. Now just total normal transition here. We've brought up all three of these bands now, but I need to know your personal preference and order for Blink-182, Sum 41, and Green Day. How would you rank them?
Ooh. It's ironic because of what I said about Green Day, but it'd be Sum 41, Blink-182, Green Day.
Okay, so why?
As someone, one of my favorite bands growing up was actually Chiodos. The All We Know Is All's Well That Ends Well is one of my favorite out still to this day. So I grew up with a lot of metal influence, even like I kind of had the Green Day transition, but I pretty quickly went to like the more metal and metalcore and hardcore scene. And so for me, especially a lot of like early Sum, it's that their guitarist is a metal guitarist. Yeah. And so for me, it's a better blend for what my preference is overall. And so that's Sum 41 for that reason is kind of my top of those three. And then I think Blink's been the most consistent though. I think Blink has the better discography out of all of them, if I had it based on that. And then Green Day's kind of, for me, it was that one album, the one album after, and after that, it just didn't hit the same for me. Yeah. But Blink, as far as overall discography, it's probably been better. But my preference of I like some angst and some heavy sounding guitars. So
Yeah, and to go back to what we were just saying before this conversation of having similar sounds, it's funny how picky I am with pop punk because sometimes with music I'm like, oh, this band sounds like Blink, so like I'm gonna listen to it because that's my favorite, right? But then there's sometimes where it's like this is too much like Blink, like that's all they're trying to do, so like I'm not gonna like do your own thing, right? But when it came to Sum 41, I found them after Blink, and I first listened to All Killer No Filler was the first, and then I went back and found Half Hour Power, and then Chuck came out like right after that, I think, like so like I had 3 albums pretty much all within the same time to listen to of this band. Um, but yeah, with Fat Lip in particular, like that was the first song I've heard from them, and it's like they took the sound of Blink, right? That like I love, but then like this metal guitarist comes in, and so like I went through a phase of listening to 80s and 90s, rock, metal, whatever you want to call it, and then so it's like I was familiar with that sound. I like that sound, but it's just not something I wanted to listen to all the time. Like Blink's what I want to listen to all the time because it was more fun. It was upbeat. It was fast. Whereas metal sometimes slows down or it's just long songs. Like, my attention span's not there to like listen to an 8-minute song, right? But so you have Dave that comes in and it has these metal solos and like different sounding riffs, like on top of pop punk. Like, yeah, what a great sound! Like, beautiful sound.
Oh yeah.
So it's cool. That's how you rank it. And then 2 more questions off of that. One, what was your favorite cover song that we did when we were in high C together?
I like the Blink-182 the most just because it wasn't just a straight cover. It was kind of blending Damn It and all the small things, and so that was kind of just a fun way of doing something.
I liked playing that one a lot. It threw people off in the crowd.
Oh yeah,
because like they would get ready to sing like the next line, and then we'd go to Damn It instead of all the small things.
Yeah,
but I'm trying to think back. We did
because Fat Lip was a lot of because that's just a fun song to play. I think overall experience like. Those two are hard for 2 different reasons. I still think the Blink takes it just because of the crowd experience. It was the people sing along easier. It was easy to play, so it was easier to kind of like jump around a little bit. But Sum 41 was a more fun song on the guitar to play as the lead guitarist to kind of be able to play those riffs. So,
and I would agree like with what you're saying, and for like me too. Like it was more fun to play Sum 41. But yeah, like the crowd definitely got more into the Blink song that we did, like the mashup or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So trying to think back. Yeah, we did the Goldfinger version of 99 Red Balloons.
Forgot about that. That was fun to play too.
That was a really fun one. And then
do you remember, story time. Do you remember when we tried to do that Battle of the Bands with the BYU Idaho?
Oh yeah, I was going to roll past that, but please go into it.
The only reason it's funny is I was pissed because I just shaved my beard. So we were trying to pretend we were all students. I don't remember that. And then 2, they said they were going to provide stuff and they didn't. So we had to play that song without distortion.
Oh,
we were just in the sound. I don't know if you. Yeah, we had no distortion. And the way we did that, we kind of brought in a heavier element to those. Like there's heavier moments of that song, but it didn't hit the same.
Yeah.
So like, that was so stupid.
Yeah, we obviously didn't get invited to do that, which, I mean, we
They
tried.
probably looked into it and noticed we weren't all students.
That's what I was going to say. So first of all, that's the first and only time I've ever seen you without a beard was for that. So you shave for no reason. I'm sorry. But were any of us technically, I was kicked, like I wasn't necessarily kicked out at the time, but I was getting kicked out. So were any
Tyler, I think, was actually the only one who's actually a student at the time. Because I think Mike was done at that. I think Tyler was the only one. Yeah. I think it was like his last semester. Because it was when he did all that merch for us and things like that. Because he did his like senior communications project on our band. I think he was the only one.
Was joining right when he graduated.
Yeah. So he was still a student. Like it was that last semester.
Yeah. That's funny, man.
Yeah. Because I can't remember if Mike was still in school or not, but
he was not because we were living in the apartment together at that time.
That's right.
Yeah, that's funny. So yeah, 99 Red Balloons, All the Small Things, Damn It, Mix Up, Fat Lip, Southern Weather from the Almost, Jimmy Eat World, The Middle.
We did that Day to Remember song too.
Oh yeah,
so we're kind of
the Plot to Bomb the Panhandle.
Yep. I can still play that song. It's a fun.
A Rise Against song? I don't think we did.
I don't think we did. Because I think we talked about it when it was original because that was like, oh, we all kind of like it.
And we talked about Anthem Part 2 from Blink, but all of us getting that timing down together was kind of difficult. Like that intro is a hard intro to do, at least
It
for
is
me.
a hard intro. And with only having one guitar, that song sounds better with layered guitars. Like it's written for more than one guitar.
And then the other thing I wanted to ask, and I'm going to talk about TJ for a second because I've talked about TJ and like the sound he wanted from High C. So he's now the last one from High C that we need to have on here. But so like he was like more post-hardcore, like he wanted. Me, obviously just pop punk. You brought up Chiodo as being one of your favorite bands. So Karlton, if you could drive the High C wagon and the sound that it was going to have, what would the sound have been if it was just up to you?
Now, like with my opinion now, or
Now
what my
and back
mindset.
then. Yeah.
So I think now leaning into pop punk was the better thing to do. Whenever we wrote a more pop punk song, it was a better song. I think it used our different influences and our abilities better. And I think a part of me will always have a soft spot for, especially because a lot of the music I listen to, like one of my favorite bands is Dayseeker right now, or Bad Omens. I love the incorporation of like tech and like synth, but it's very hard to do live because of backtracks or having to play that live. That's a whole nother nightmare. And so I think for me, I would have not want to go that post-hardcore route for that reason of like where I would have started writing, because where Chiodos went, where they ended up having more like string elements and things like that. Like that's a pain in the butt to do. But I just don't think we would have been able to pull it off as well. So I think leaning more into this, I think a good band. Have you heard of Dragged Under?
Nope. Oh, actually, no, I have. Yeah, I've heard a couple of their songs.
So I think what they do, if we would have leaned anything like that, that would have been the closest thing to like a heavier pop punk.
Okay.
Would have been kind of if I were in charge, that's the route I'd go.
But not,
so not like not pure screaming post-hardcore, but having more harsher vocals here and there.
Okay.
Would be my ideal.
And so, I mean, you said what makes sense, but like if it was up to you, we did exactly what you wanted at that time. Would that have been post-hardcore more?
Probably at the time, yeah.
Okay, that's totally
like
fair,
if we
dude.
could have, like if we would have had the ability at that time. Like I said, me now knowing what our abilities are, I would have definitely as close to pop punk as possible, just because it was more fun to play.
Yeah,
like the more fun songs are always the pop punk ones over the heavy ones, and maybe it was just because of the crowds. The crowds are more likely to get into the pop punk, and the aspect of having making sure the crowd has fun is easier and more enjoyable to do with a pop punk rather than not everyone wants headbang and mosh pit, but everyone's willing to jump around.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of going all over right now because it's like you don't necessarily want to write music because you want, well, at least I don't. Like I don't want to write music because it's what people want to hear. But at the same time, like I have made decisions in music, like, well, if we go too crazy, like people aren't going to necessarily appreciate that. So it's interesting to like have that in mind of like I want to write what I want to write, but I still want it to be enjoyable.
Yeah. I think kind of going into that artistic direction, I think that's where more recently, I mean, with my kids, I've just listened to a lot of like musical animated things. But one of my favorite artists I've just listened to a lot of interviews for is actually composer Hans Zimmer. And he talks about his approach because he was a synth player in a lot of bands for a long time before he got into film composition. Like he did a lot of the keyboard production for DJ killed the, what is that? Radio killed the TV. TV killed the radio store. I don't remember that old song. I don't remember what the title of that is. But he did the synth production for that. So he was playing live with them for a while. But he talks about what drove him more for film is it allows him to explore his different genre interests. And so for me, when people kind of think of musical theater, they're going to think of like the more traditional like choirs and things like that. But there's a lot of really interesting musicals out there that are more rock driven or a lot more non-traditional. And for me, that's why I'm drawn is like, oh, I can explore my weird like Tim Burton-esque type things, or I can go a little more straightforward and write like a folk song, or I can probably write like a pop punk musical or things like that. I don't know if that would work, but for me, having that flexibility to kind of do that because it is difficult to do that in like a band setting. But I don't know if that makes sense.
Let me be honest with you. Nothing that you say makes sense to me.
I don't know if I should be offended or feel like a genius. Maybe I'm just too genius for you.
Yeah, I'm glad you found the positive spin on that. Good job. See, you're a positive guy. You could turn anything positive. I love it.
I try to.
I'm grumpy or mean. The last thing I'm going to say, I keep bouncing back to the sound of I
Yeah.
see, and it's something that it's been fun to talk about and like go back because we all wanted similar different things, and so now hearing the truth is fun. Um, the other day I was talking about Saves the Day with some friends, and I remembered that one of Chase's friends, Chase that we were just talking about, came to a show, and it's not somebody that I ever saw again. So I guess he was just in town visiting or something, and Chase was at our show. So this friend came, and after we played our set, he like pulled me to the side, and we were just chatting, talking about the overall sound. And he had been in bands before, and he's like, "Hey, like I don't know how you feel about this band. So like I don't mean any offense, but he's like, your band reminds me a lot of the sound from Saves the Day." And that's not like a band that I'd ever say has like influenced me musically, but like that's a great compliment. That's a great band.
Oh, yeah.
And so for somebody to take that from us, I was like, sick, dude. Like I don't hear it, but like I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, I could not tell you a Saves the Day song for the life of me.
But that's where your sound comes from, just so you know.
Apparently. That makes sense. I can see
No,
that though, like just knowing the age of like what a lot of these artists are, like we probably had similar influences is
Yeah.
where that kind of came into.
Definitely. And then the other thing I want to bounce back to was what we started at the beginning was this podcast that I'm doing comes from you, from your idea of how I moved away. We wanted to find a way to do something musically together. And so we talked about potentially doing a podcast. I mean, I kept moving around, so like I know it was hard to keep up with, but so it's really fun to sit down and do this with you.
Yeah.
And that some of these questions that I use with people are questions that we came up with together. So thanks for the motivation. Thanks for the help there. But like, I'm glad that we're doing it. Sorry, we never found out how to do our Warped Tour podcast though.
Yeah. I've been sick.
If we were
Especially got to
talking
go
about
to
this,
Warped Tour. I was nowhere
yeah,
near any of those shows.
I know it stinks that they only did 3, but yeah, I think if we would have talked, if we had this interview last year, it would have been like, well, Warped Tour's gone anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But came back, so we'll see. Maybe we'll do it eventually.
Yeah.
What would it be though now? Like, what would we talk about that's important to us now if we were to come up with one together?
If we were to come up with a podcast now.
Yeah, or an OnlyFans page. What would we do or talk about on that as well?
Kind of interesting. I think for just because while we have a lot of similar interests, we do have quite a variety of, like I said, you have your interest in baseball. I have my things with movies and things like that. Is I almost think something, I've kind of seen this done before, but more like the cultural aspect of music and kind of understanding that, I think would be where we would find the most strength between the two of us.
Yeah.
Is I think, because there's a couple of guys, like there's a guy named Jesse Lee who does social media stuff. I know he's done some interviews, and I even think the some of the reaction stuff that YouTube channels do, I think it would be interesting for us to do it just because we are different enough.
Yeah.
That coming across different music would be interesting, because I think we would add an interesting component that we have different enough that a lot of these like reactions, they agree half the time, which is fine. I mean, they're probably why they're doing a podcast, but I think it could be interesting for us to do something reaction based because we would oppose each other to some degree. And I think that'd make it more interesting.
It would, and that's a good point of, go back to like our different personalities and you being the dad of the group. Like, I always felt comfortable being honest with you. There's so many people out there that you're like, oh, I'm going to hurt their feelings. Like, I have to be really delicate of telling them I don't agree with them, right? But you were just so like laid back and you let things roll off. Where I'd be like, Karlton, like, I don't like that idea, and you'd be like, okay, what about this? I'd be like, yeah, it's better. And then you'd be like, what about this? I'm like, I love that idea. So you've never had the personality, which I have. Like, I've had it at times of, man, that person doesn't agree with me. That really bothers me. We can all have different opinions. It's totally fine. And I'm glad that you figured that out at least 10 years ago, if not longer. If you don't let
Yeah.
stuff like that bother you, man. So good for you. But it would be fun to do that because, yeah, we have that personality where we can disagree and we're still friends at the end of the day.
Yeah. So just heads up, my battery is dying. So I don't know if I want to try plugging it in, see if it'll work okay, or if we want to let it charge. And I don't know.
You don't have to talk to me. You can just leave. You can just say, you offended me. I'm done.
I am taking a picture for proof. So that...
I see his camera. He's actually taking a picture. Well, let me ask you this, Karlton. What else do you want to talk about? Because we have been going for quite a while. We can wrap it up here.
It would be... I'm almost curious because you had such a... I really like the list you have, but I can't remember anything. And because I closed everything, I can't remember some of the questions. We were to continue talking. You know what? I'm going to take a... If I could find the balance to resurface the high C material and release it, would you still be interested?
With you, absolutely not. Any of the other guys, for sure. I think it'd be fun, and it's been a conversation that, it's pretty obvious that's come up with people outside of this, like,
yeah,
the recorded material of like, hey, are you guys going to do it? Can you do it? And I'm like, my answer is the same. I've recorded the songs 3 times.
Yep.
I feel like I've done my part.
Oh yeah.
But if we can actually make it happen, I'll do whatever, because those are songs that I'm the most proud of. Like, I've put the most time into making happen. And so if we could have those and share those with people so people actually know what we're talking about, not just like, oh, these kids that were in Idaho at one time had all these songs that they talk about, but we can't hear it.
Yeah.
That would be fun, dude. It'd be great.
And I think I said we'd have to find the balance of being able to record it, because I don't know what your recording capability is, but because you even talked about like doing a shut up and dance, like doing Pop Goes Punk music still interests me, because I've been trying to do better about like learning music and analyzing music, and doing pop covers is easier because pop music is inherently a little more simple as far as the composition goes.
Yeah.
But I'd be all for doing music again, because for us it'd be the recording and writing process, which is unfortunately we don't get the jam side of it.
Yeah.
Which we missed out on, but at least get the enjoyment of making music again.
Yeah, for sure. The jam, I think, is like things that people don't see about a band, but usually for me it's been my favorite part of being in a band. Getting together with your friends, hanging out, writing music, being silly, and then finding a way to do that on stage where people will actually listen to it and like somewhat enjoy it. Like, that's so much fun.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think everybody knows, and I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings, but you're one of my favorite musicians I've ever played with. So to have the opportunity to continue to do that with you, it'd be so much fun, dude.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's funny though. I keep making friends with drummers though. I can never find other musicians. I'm just letting you know, like, you started this route. Funny enough, I don't know if you knew this, for the longest time, Michelle would tell people whenever we were on the phone or texting, you were the girlfriend for the longest time. I don't know if you ever knew that.
No, I remember that for sure, dude. And I think what Michelle meant to say was like, I was your side chick, right? Like,
oh yeah,
for sure. I mean, we talked all the time because it was like, if we weren't playing together, it'd be like, okay, like, what are we gonna do this next band practice? Okay, like, how's work going? How's life? Okay, back to music. Like,
yeah. Like, I still think it'd be rad to be able to do. I don't know. Like that, I've been having an itch to play music again, like live music. To what extent, I don't know what that looks like, but
yeah.
But like that, I think it's funny. For as long as I'd been a musician, by the time we started playing, those experiences of jamming with you have been the most foundational for how I write and approach music. Even if it's not like punk rock or pop punk music, the way that we did it still is what works for me the most.
And part of it would be like the time that we allotted to do it, because not everybody in the band had the time that we made to do that, right? So like, it would be like on a Saturday, we wouldn't schedule anything. Like, I remember once we had a band practice because everybody else had to work in the afternoon, so we had like an early band practice, and then I didn't play anything else the rest of the day, so we just spent the rest of the day at your house writing music. And so sometimes people just don't have that opportunity to take that much time to do it. And so it was fun that we found a way to make that time.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what you said. What else do you want to talk about? But I think about that
I
a
love it,
lot.
man.
Like I don't know if I just need to publicly do something on social media, like I'm going to finish these darn songs. Here's what I'm doing.
You just said it, and so now Marissa's going to bug you because she's going to listen to this, and some other people that want to hear the high C songs. You'll be like, well, Karlton, you just said it, so you better make it happen. So no pressure, but pressure's on.
It's in the public now.
Well, I'm glad we talked about that, and I'm glad we just got to do this because I've been looking forward to it. I miss you. I'm glad we got to chat today.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time to do this, man.